Shalom l'kulam. Welcome everybody. This is the first in a series called um, Topics in Rambam. So among the different things we'll be discussing are particular topics that either listeners have decided upon or which I've decided upon, um, dealing with particular issues in Rambam. So the first one we're going to talk about is why follow Rambam's Mishneh Torah. Why indeed should we follow the Mishneh Torah as opposed to Shulchan Aruch or other options? So, first of all, the Sanhedrin is the pillar of the oral law. What's that mean? As Rambam explains in the introduction to the Mishneh Torah, the Sanhedrin, which is the high court of Jewish law, is the pillar of the oral law. They establish the law for all Israel, whether past, present, or future, whether in the land or in exile. Their rulings are binding upon all Jews everywhere and for all time, and only a subsequent Sanhedrin of greater standing can overrule them. Second point, what they permitted is permitted, and what they forbade is forbidden. Because their rulings are binding and only subject to revision by a later Sanhedrin, whatever they permitted then remains permitted today, and whatever they forbade then remains forbidden today. This applies to all their rulings, including those regarding what is deemed ritually pure or impure, whether litigants are exempt or guilty, what food is kosher or not kosher, and all other rulings. As stated above, until another Sanhedrin of greater standing is established, may it be speedily in our days, the rulings of the last one remain in force. Third point, no one summarized the law like Rambam. Though there are other compendia of halakha, Jewish law, for example, the Shulchan Aruch, none are as comprehensive, covering the entirety of the law, as Mishneh Torah is. It includes laws which aren't currently practical, but which will become so once the Beit HaMikdash, the temple in Jerusalem, is rebuilt. When that happens, all the purity laws and sacrificial laws will resume their prior status, as Rambam states in Hilchot Lulav 7:14. If we rely solely upon the Shulchan Aruch and similar compilations, we would not know what the law is regarding any of the temple service or our obligations regarding offerings and so forth. Fourth, all the practical law is summarized in Mishneh Torah. Based upon what Rambam himself wrote in the introduction to the Mishneh Torah, we believe that every Jew, of whatever background in Torah study, can learn all of the practical law by diligently studying the Tanakh as well as Mishneh Torah. There is no need to refer to other halachic works, nor is there a need to always consult a rabbi in order to understand what the practical law is in virtually all situations. This is because once one learns the principles behind the law, as clearly stated by Rambam, one can apply those principles in novel situations as well as ordinary ones. This is not to say one should not learn the sources, the Talmud Yerushalmi, Bavli, Toseftot, Midrashei Halacha, and so forth. Far from it. But the simple fact remains that very few individuals have the time, expertise, or inclination to study the sources with the proper seriousness and devotion, and therefore gain the ability to derive the law from them. Rambam summarized those sources on our behalf in clear Hebrew for the ordinary Jew. What about minhag, customs? From a thorough review of Mishneh Torah, one notices that the only times Rambam mentions minhag is either regarding financial matters, where minhag makom, in other words, local custom, is a deciding factor, or regarding those minhagim which the Sanhedrin saw fit to elevate into law. Nowhere does he state that one must, for example, follow his father's minhag. That even includes the commonly asserted minhag avotehem biyadehem, which means their forefathers' customs are in their hands, meaning to say they're supposed to follow in their forefathers' footsteps. That quote appears exactly once in Mishneh Torah, in Hilchot Kiddush HaChodesh 5:5, regarding keeping a second day of Yom Tov outside the land. No rabbi or court subsequent to the Sanhedrin has the halachic authority to bind anyone outside their immediate locale to adhere to their customs. For example, the widespread Ashkenazi minhag to refrain from kitniot during Passover has no halachic relevance whatsoever to descendants of European Jewry who live in other locales, according to any possible reading of Mishneh Torah. The law according to the simple meaning of the text. We follow the law according to the simple meaning of the text, in according with the principles Rambam himself elucidated. He omits from his compendium all Agadic, exegetical source material, of which there's a great deal in the Babylonian Talmud, for example. Thus, we find no mention of demons in the Mishneh Torah, and very little of miracles unless they're pertinent to the law being described, for example, in the laws of Hanukkah. Therefore, the law as presented by Rambam is logical, insofar as a legal body can be logical, and it's clearly stated without distractions. He also omits any reference to what's referred today as Kabbalah. First of all, because it remains forbidden even today to reveal deeper level Torah teachings in public. See Hilchot Yesodei Torah 10.8. Then, too, because the Zohar did not exist yet, as it was created from whole cloth by Moses de Leon some 80 years after Rambam's death. When Rambam refers to Kabbalah in the Mishneh Torah, he is specifically referring to the received tradition from teacher to student, in other words, the oral Torah. And finally, simplifying your life. As my teacher, Rabbi Shlomo ben Avraham Zichrono Levracha, said once, do you think our merciful God would create a system of laws which were so complex no normal Jew would be able to follow them without consulting an authority? Indeed, it is our obligation as Jews to learn the law as best we are able, as part of our obligation to study Torah each day. Relying upon Mishneh Torah makes this something each of us can accomplish. That's the end of my prepared statements. I see that I am currently alone. However, anybody who wishes to make a comment is welcome to do so on the contact page of Mechon Mamre. Any comments or suggestions that are posted there, I will take a look at. And I thank you very much for your time.